All right, everyone. This ed puzzle and video, your goal is to learn what a CRQ or constructed response question is. So I'm going to go through this lesson, and then in the ed puzzle, you're also going to practice answering these kinds of questions. These kinds of questions are very important because they will be on your Regents exam at the end of 10th grade. So throughout the rest of this course and next year when you take Global 2 in 10th grade, you're going to continue to practice these CRQ responses. So CRQ is short for Constructed Response Question. And with these, it's always a set of 3 different questions, usually 2 kinds of documents. So you'll see here first, our first document is a map. We're not even going to look at the map for the next couple minutes. What I want to first go over with you is what are the instructions? What is expected of you, the student, when it comes to answering these questions? So we're not even going to get to the map or to document 1 yet. Let's look at what we need to do, what you're asked to do. You are going to be asked to analyze the documents and answer the short answer questions that follow each document in the space provided. So here we've got all the documents are always going to be labeled with document 1 or 2 and so on. Then it's going to have a title to the document, whether it's an excerpt from a reading or a map or a picture. It's going to have some kind of title. So then we're going to read that title. And like I said, we're not even looking at this specifically yet. Then you're going to come down, you're going to take a look at the source. All right, the source is from where? All right, we take a look at that. Then you're going to look at the question. So all we're doing right now, again, all we're doing right now is pre-reading. We're doing our pre-reading exercises. For this map document, we are going to have to explain the geographic context for the development of something in history. All right, so geographic context, that makes sense that they're going to be asking us about geography or the context having to do with geography because we're looking at a map. All right, so those are our expectations for document 1, to analyze the geographic context. So still, I'm not going to get into the map quite yet. We're going to move to document 2 and see what the expectations are for document 2. And then we're going to go back up and we'll go through breaking down each document, each question, as a guide for you to answer the questions in the ed puzzle. So document 2 is, here's the title, or some sort of quick description of what you expect to read about. And it's an excerpt, or an excerpt is always a part or a portion of a larger something. So in this case, an excerpt is a part or a portion of a letter from Pope Urban II, his speech at the Council of Claremont. All right, again, I don't want to get into the details quite yet with you. We're going to come down here, continuing with our pre-reading exercises. What is the source? And the source is the Council of Claremont. It's an excerpt, okay, called Urban and the Crusaders. What is our, what are we supposed to do for this question? So we are asked to, using this document, explain the purpose. Right here it's highlighted. Explain the purpose for Pope Urban II's speech. All right. So our first question was analyzing the geographic context. Our second question has to do with explaining the purpose. Why did someone write this? What were they after? What was their goal? What were they trying to achieve? All right, all of those guiding questions that I just said can help answer explain the purpose. Now, you've got document 1, you've got document 2. These two documents, whenever you have a question set like this in preparation for your Regents, whenever you have a question set like this, the two documents are going to be related somehow. All right? This is a map of something. This is a reading having to do with the same thing, the same historical event, the same something in history. And that's one thing that it's key for you to identify. So moving down, it's always a set of 3 questions. The first 2 are going to be based on documents. Then your third question is going to have to be using both documents. You're going to identify a cause and effect relationship. So reading up here, base your answers to it should say questions 1 and 2, but your question base your answer to this question both on documents 1 and 2 and on your knowledge of social studies. Sorry if I stumbled there. So this defines cause for you. What is a cause? A cause refers to something that contributes to the occurrence of an event, the rise of an idea, or the bringing about of a development. An effect. What is an effect? It's defined as refers to what happens as a consequence, a result, impact, outcome of an event, an idea, or a development. So you can see how these terms are related. You have a cause, something that brings about a development, and an effect, something that is the result of a development. Now, our final question for this question set, the CRQ, is to identify and explain a cause and effect relationship associated with the historical developments in documents 1 and 2. Be sure to use evidence from both documents 1 and 2 in your response. All right, so we are back up looking at document 1. Now we're really going to get into analyzing this document. All right, we've done our pre-reading exercises. Now we're going to take a real close look at every aspect of this document and see if we can answer this question. So the title of this is Map of the Mediterranean World in 1092, 3 years before the start of the First Crusade. All of that information is important. Now looking at this map, we can see a bunch of different colors up here. This is Western Europe, this is Northern Europe, and then going towards Eastern Europe. These are the Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Finland, and Norway. That's what we call them today anyway. Back then in 1092, they didn't necessarily have those names. So you can see by the different colors, these are all different areas, possibly ruled under different kings, different dukes, that sort of thing. And then in this general area, it's labeled Christian civilizations. Then you come over here to the east, so this is Asia Minor, and it's labeled Islamic civilizations. You've got the Holy Land is labeled here, and the major city of Jerusalem is here. Down here in North Africa, you've also got Islamic civilizations. Here and here, all along North Africa, into Spain a little bit. All right, so Islamic civilizations here, Christian civilizations here. So our question is, explain the geographic context for the development of the Crusades. Now, by this time, you should have already watched and completed the Ed puzzle on the Crusades. If you have not done that, then you need to stop right now. Stop this Ed puzzle, don't go any further, and you need to watch the Ed puzzle on the Crusades. Otherwise, you will not be able to do this. So, if you are ready to proceed, then in the Ed puzzle, I want you to explain the geographic context. So again, context helps us understand the circumstances or the history about the Crusades, how they developed. With geography, we want to understand how did Europe and North Africa and Asia Minor develop into what we see here on the map. Explain that in your question using geography. And by doing that, you're going to have answered this geographic question. All right, now that we've answered the question for document 1 on geographic context, we're moving on to document 2. This is called an excerpt from Pope Urban II's speech at the Council of Clermont in 1095. Notice the date here, 1095. We're going to go back up here. Notice the date from our map, 1092. What's the difference? All right, reading this. From the confines of Jerusalem and the city of Constantinople, a horrible tale has gone forth, has been brought to our ears, that a race from the kingdom of Persians, Muslims, an accursed race, a race utterly alienated from God, has invaded the lands of those Christians and has depopulated them by the sword, pillaged and fire. It has led away a part of the captives into its own country, and a part it has destroyed by cruel tortures. It has either entirely destroyed the churches of God or appropriated them for the rites of its own religion. They destroy the altars after having defiled them with their uncleanness. Enter upon the road to the holy sepulchre. Wrest that land from the wicked race and subject it to yourselves. Accordingly, undertake this journey for the remission of your sins, with the assurance of the imperishable glory of the kingdom of heaven. Let this, then, be your war cry in combats, because this word is given to you by God. When an armed attack is made upon the enemy, let this one cry be raised by all the soldiers of God. It is the will of God. It is the will of God. The source here is the Council of Clermont excerpt, Dana C. Monroe, titled Urban and the Crusaders. This is translations and reprints from the original sources of European history, volume 1-2. So based on this document, based on this reading, explain the purpose for Pope Urban II's speech at the Council of Clermont. So again, explaining the purpose, you're going to ask yourself, why did the Pope write this? What was he after? What was his goal? What is he trying to get people to do? What is his call to action? Answer this question in the Ed puzzle now. All right, you've answered questions 1 and 2 based on documents 1 and 2. Now what we need to do is we're going to take those 2 documents, we're going to take what we've analyzed and what we've learned from those documents, and we need to find a cause and effect relationship between those 2. Now what we are not doing here is rewriting the answers that we've already put down for our answers in questions 1 and 2. We are not just rewriting or copying them over into this blank space. That will not earn you any points or any credit at all. What you have to do is now join these 2 documents, this information together, and identify and explain, right here, a cause and effect relationship. One is a cause, the other is effect, but what is that relationship? And again, simply copying and pasting your previous answers is not good enough. So, associated with the historical developments in documents 1 and 2. Be sure to use evidence from both documents 1 and 2 in your response. So if you need to, go back up, look at these two documents or rewind in the Edpuzzle, identify and explain a cause and effect. It will require probably more than one sentence, complete sentence. So some sentence starters may be, you know what, instead I'll put sentence starters in the Edpuzzle question. All right, go ahead and answer this question in the Edpuzzle now.